Hi, before we get the meeting started, I'm just going to see where it goes. Can I ask somebody who's calling in from a 541 area code if they could mute, please? Thank you. We got all council here and all staff who need to be here? Great. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. We're going to call this meeting of the City Council to order at 2:04 p.m. on the 18th of March. We're here because we have received an appeal to a decision that was been made earlier by our Planning Commission regarding a development.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt. We need to record, or are we taking notes? Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Great. So with us today from staff, we have Layla Aman, our city manager. We also have Savani Miller from our attorney's office, Miller Nash. They will both be speaking today. And then once we get this kicked off, council will be deliberating on the type of hearing that we will be conducting to address the appeal. This is not a meeting for public comment. I do appreciate everyone who is here from the community. And yeah, let's just get started. Layla, if you want to help us begin, and then I think we'll be hearing from Savani for a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so today is a special set meeting for the City Council to determine the scope of review of an appeal to the Manzanita Pines application that was approved by the Planning Commission on March 10th. Section 10.170 of the Manzanita zoning ordinance says that the reviewing body may determine as a non-public hearing, so this is a non-public hearing item, the scope of review on appeal, and that there are three options for that. And so it's either A, restricted to the record on the decision being appealed, B, it's limited to admission of additional evidence on issues as the reviewing body determines necessary for proper resolution of the matter, C, a remand of the matter to the hearing body for additional consideration, and D, a de novo hearing on the merits. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Savani Miller, who is the city attorney and is working with the city on this appeal. Savani.
Thank you, Layla. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'll just present the recommendation from staff, the appellant, and we also understand that the applicant have both requested a de novo hearing on the merits, and that staff's recommendation as well to allow the parties in this particular matter to submit additional evidence for the council's consideration in a hearing that we expect would be set approximately the week of April 21st. The reason that we're recommending that type of hearing is to allow the parties to supplement the record. What it would entail would be a consideration of all the issues in the application by the council, as well as any additional evidence that may be submitted during a series of open records periods, which I'll discuss in a second. So at any time that an application is appealed to the city council is called on to consider whether the Planning Commission made the correct decision, and then also evaluate the issues that are being raised in the appeal. And so this is just one method of doing that. Because the parties have requested an additional opportunity to submit new evidence, testimony, and argument, if you choose to hold a de novo hearing on the merits, then staff would recommend a series of open records periods to submit, for parties to submit and for the council to consider new information related to this appeal. So I'll just briefly walk through what those open records periods would look like. And then again, our recommendation would be that you set that hearing, but delegate to staff the responsibility for setting the specific schedule and preparing a notice that will include the information that we're talking about today in terms of timing and what may be submitted and when. So the first open record period would be at least 7 days, and it would include an opportunity for any party to submit new evidence, testimony, or argument in addition to the information and the materials that are already in the record. So at the de novo hearing, the council will consider the information that has already been provided that was built through the planning commission process and through the submissions of the parties below, in addition to any new evidence, argument, or testimony that is submitted in this open record period. The second open record period is a slightly more limited scope. It would be the opportunity for parties to submit responses to any evidence, testimony, or argument that's submitted in the first period. And then the third open record period would be the applicant's opportunity to respond in writing, which they may or may not choose to do, to the information that was submitted in those first two periods. And all of that would occur before the council holds a de novo hearing where we would recommend parties are able to, within reasonable time constraints, provide argument, testimony, or responses directly to the council. And so I'm happy to walk through that again or answer any questions that the council may have.
So we understand what the options are and what the timeline is, and that we are going to make a decision here shortly on whether to accept the staff and the appellant's recommendation for the type of hearing. Before we do that, is there anything that any of the counselors would like to comment on or say today? Okay. So I guess I'm looking for a motion then. Tom, do you have something to say, or do you want to?
I just want to say that, you know, given the silence in your request, if anybody had something to say, that people that are in attendance right now understand that we just had an hour with council to discuss what the various options were. And so it's not that we're a bunch of bumps on a log. We've already had some time to talk and think this through.
Okay, great.
I'd like to make a motion. Is that an appropriate time to do this, Mayor? Okay, I'd like to make a motion as it relates to the Manzanita Pines land use appeal, that we accept staff's recommendation and go to a de novo hearing, time to be set by staff and legal counsel.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Okay, seconded by Tom. Just use your arms here. All in favor? Okay, unanimously passed that we will have a de novo hearing. The date for that the hearing itself will be sometime the week of April 21st. There are a number of dates prior to that lead up that have deadlines for people submitting new information, responding to new information. So all of that will be shared, confirmed and then shared by our city manager. Layla, do you want to say a word for people who are less familiar with land use and the planning commission, to just say where and how that information will be available when those dates are confirmed?
Yeah, absolutely. So once we set the hearing date, which will happen in the next day, on the city council's webpage. So if you go to the city of Manzanita's website, you go to the government tab and you select city council. It's where we normally have all of our hearing information city council information. So we will post the record there as well as the agenda for that meeting and the notice. And then we will update that as we get information based on there'll be a series of periods we'll be accepting new evidence. And so we'll package that up and post that information there. And likely we'll go ahead and post something on the Planning Commission page too that just has the application information, but the most up-to-date information will be on the City Council page on the City of Manzanita's website.
Okay, good. Well, this can be perhaps one of our shortest meetings, so we've gotten to our decision quickly. It helps to have a solid recommendation and understand the reasons why. So we'll look forward to the public input and comment that we'll be adding to the record that we already have. I want to acknowledge and thank the work of our Planning Commission, who were very diligent on this and have spent a lot of time on it, and we will give the work a great deal of respect, and I'll do everything to the best of our abilities to make our decision. A no vote hearing means that we will be deciding, so we'll be listening. We'll be listening in the various ways you get to listen when people are writing and sending in comments. So I want to thank everybody for attending today, and I'm going to call this meeting to a close at 2:15 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.